You don't have to worry about whether or not Carlos Correa will leave his contract with the Minnesota Twins. He's going to, so now's the time to start thinking about where he might land. Correa joining the Twins for the second season in 2023 would have been a big surprise, but he's making it clear that he thinks he can do better. In this video, we'll rank Correa's top 10 landing spots. First off, what's it going to cost to take him? What exactly is Correa looking for in his next paycheck? Because it's not $70.2 million. No one knows for sure. Even though Correa didn't beat Corey Seager's 10-year, $325 million deal with the Texas Rangers, we shouldn't be surprised if he tries to get a deal like that again in 2022 or 2023. Come on, this is an ambitious player who knows what he deserves. The one difference this time, the 28-year-old won't have to worry about a qualifying offer. Even though he is only 148 days younger than Seager, he's in the same position as he was last year. That means he just finished his age 27 season. And what a season it was. Correa got off to a slow start, but in the end, he hit 291, 366, and 467 with 140 OPS plus and 5.4 rWAR. On the other hand, his not-so-great defensive ratings are just a tiny bump in a record that includes gold and platinum gloves. Correa has a career OPS plus of 129. That's the highest of any shortstop since 2015. Even though he's had some bad luck, you can't ignore that he has hit 18 home runs in the postseason. We can guess that 10 teams could offer Correa a 10-year, $300 million contract based on what we know and what our gut tells us. While we're at it, let's rank them by how well they make sense for him based on their needs and how much money they seem to have. Next up, Chicago Cubs. Here's another NL Central team with a good-looking shortstop already on the team. Hoerner could be Diet Edman, for all we know. Even though he didn't have much power, he was still helpful in 2022 because of his contacts. He has a batting average of 281, 20 stolen bases in 22 tries, and 11 defensive runs saved just at shortstop. He's a cornerstone, no question. And yet, Nightingale said in June that the Cubs are expected to be on the big shortstops this winter. Correa and the Cubs aren't a new combination in a way. They were a heavy favorite to sign him last winter, but his no rebuilding stance, which was understandable, didn't help with negotiations. After the Cubs went 39-31 in the second half of their 74-88 season, Correa's ability to hit hard and play good defense would help their chances of getting back into the race soon. And since they don't spend nearly as much as they could, there's no reason they can't make him a good deal. Followed by Philadelphia Phillies. In 2022, the Philadelphia Phillies tied for 25th in rWAR at shortstop, but without Stott, they would have been worse. The rookie's first few weeks in the major leagues were terrible, but something clicked when the Phillies fired their manager in June. That might not have been a coincidence. After that, Stott put up a good score. Over 102 games, he had a 716 OPS and hit 10 home runs. Still, it doesn't look like the Phillies will let Stott stop them from getting a better shortstop. We've heard that they'll look for better options in the winter. To make the money work, the only thing they could do was turn down Gene Segura and Zach Eflin's options worth $32 million. Other than that, the Phillies finally proved they were contenders by making the playoffs after a 10-year drought. So the only question is whether the team would rather have someone like Turner, who's more athletic and hits leadoff, instead. Moving on to San Francisco Giants. The amount of money the San Francisco Giants could spend this winter, that's at least one reason to think they could be interested in Correa. With $104.5 million in commitments for 2023, they're about $70 million below the franchise's high points from 2015 and 2016. This includes $35.5 million in salary for Carlos Rodon, who's expected to opt out. Crawford's one of the players who will be back in 2023, so the Giants won't be crazy to bet on him coming back. In 2021, he helped the team win 107 games and finished fourth in the NL MVP voting. He also made his third All-Star team and won his fourth Gold Glove. The problem is that Crawford's 35, so it wasn't a big surprise when Nightingale said the team might try to get a star shortstop over the winter. Judge will be the team's top priority though. Since it could cost up to $300 million to sign him, it's probably him or Correa. Next, St. Louis Cardinals. Edman deserves to know that he wasn't just a good shortstop, but the best in the National League. He stole 32 bases out of 35 tries and played great defense at shortstop and second base, but his batting line was just 265 and his OPS plus was only 108. If the Cardinals went all in on Correa, he'd give them a big offensive boost at shortstop. He'd also move Edman and his glove to second base. That would make it a 2-for-1 deal. As a bonus, Nolan Gorman, a young player who hits hard, could be used as trade bait. If you're wondering if they have enough money to sign Correa, it helps that they won't have to pay $35 million in salaries to Adam Wainwright, Corey Dickerson, and Albert Pujol in 2022. Still, the Cardinals making a deal about Correa seems a bit out of character. The $120 million deal they made with Matt Holliday in 2010 is still their biggest one. Not to mention Baltimore Orioles. Even though the Baltimore Orioles didn't make the playoffs in 2022, their 83-79 record showed they're ready to move up in the American League East. If you look at how Baltimore's payroll once reached $164.3 million in 2017, just looking at the finances made us think of Correa winning black and orange. Then there's the link to Mike Elias. Before he left Houston in 2018 to run the front office for the Orioles, he worked there as an assistant scout and assistant general manager. All signs point to him being a big reason the team picked Correa first in the 2012 draft. But there are problems with this idea, starting with the fact that the team's ownership is uncertain. Elias said he's ready to spend, but based on what's been said about ownership in the past, it's hard to count on Correa getting as much as $300 million. Also, Correa was asked if he'd rather play for a team with a faster path to contention, but he said in July that he didn't want to, quote, be part of no rebuilding. Let's learn more about the Minnesota Twins and Atlanta. The Twins may keep Correa, especially considering how much he seems to care about the team and the city. But is Derek Falvey's repeated use of the word creative when talking about a new contract for Correa a sign? There probably aren't enough resources to make a real deal with him. After the MLB lockout ended in March last year, we heard that Correa's agent, Scott Boras, tried to talk to Atlanta about the star shortstop. Swanson's impending free agency may be the only reason Boras needs to try again, but it's hard to imagine Correa being in the team's price range now that it has signed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of extensions. Coming up, Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees. If Bogaerts follows Correa's lead and opts out, the Red Sox will have a huge hole to fill at shortstop. This seems likely, even though he was vague about it in September. But even if Correa could fill that hole, the Red Sox are probably more likely to re-sign Bogaerts than to bring in a likely more expensive replacement. We have to discuss the Yankees as a possible destination for Correa or any other big-name shortstop because it's in our contract. Still, for them to break the bank for one seems like a stretch. Maybe if Aaron Judge leaves in free agency, but even if he does, they still have shortstop prospects for Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza to fall back on. Finally, Los Angeles Dodgers. Turner will also be a free agent this winter, but the Dodgers have more than enough money to try to improve their shortstop position by signing Correa, so it looks good on paper. But in reality, we can't help but wonder if there are still some bad feelings about Correa's role in the 2017 Astros in the Dodgers clubhouse. Which team will he choose? Who knows? Correa played for the Houston Astros for the first 7 years of his major league career. After the MLB lockout last winter, Correa signed a 3-year deal worth $105.3 million. He had the chance to get out of that contract after the first and second seasons, and it looks like he's finally exercising that choice. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. Which teams are most likely to sign on Correa and meet his budget requirements? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.